and I'll be able to share it with you soon, inshallah, once those uh once the arrangements are completed. That's what I like to say about that. Uh, and so I'm still waiting on Sister Martha to say go. But she has.
And you're able to go in five, four, three, two, one.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, and welcome to Tuesday morning programming right here on American Muslim 360. My name is William Kareem, and I'm the host of this program that's called Stories of the Lives of the Prophets by Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir, yes, it's a book that we read from that tells us about the some of the stories of the prophets from Adam to Muhammad. And we did in the past we did Adam, and we did the second prophet, which was also known as Idris or Enoch. And so now we're on the third prophet. If you've been following us on the program, you know that last week we were talking about Noah's beginnings as a prophet. And again, all of the religions, the major religions, because Noah is mentioned in the Torah, Noah's mentioned in the Bible, and Noah is mentioned in the Quran. So we are giving the Muslim perspective, because Ibn Kathir was Muslim. From the 13th century, actually. And being a Muslim from the 13th century, we're now in the 21st century now? We're in the 21st century. So what this is uh, traditional stories that have been passed on from Adam all the way up to Muhammad. So that's what we're going to be talking about. It's very interesting. In the process of us doing that and talking about the prophets to this degree, what we're actually doing is we're working to see what it was that Noah was going through at that time, and if it has some type of relationship to the human conditions that we live in today, because we are under the impression that the human being never changes. He doesn't change. Adam being the first man and Hawa being the first woman, they had two arms, they had two legs, they were they had a brain. The only difference that Adam and Eve had, which was that their reproductive organs were different. Other than that, everything about them that was the same. So that's the same situation that we have today. From that time up until today, men and women are basically the same. The only difference that we have is reproductive organs. Men might be a little stronger because of, uh, some of the wiring and things like that is concerned, but we're basically the same. So there may be some lessons that we may be able to learn from these stories that we're going to be telling from the scriptures that tell us about human beings and the way that we're operating today. That being said, uh, last week we talked about Noah and how he was born, how he got his uh, how he came to his people, that he was an intelligent person. He was blessed to be intelligent, and he was glib with the mouth. He could really kick it. In other words, that like he was blessed with knowledge. He understood who the creator of the heavens and the earth was, and there were things that his people were doing, and his responsibility as being given the position of being a prophet, which was to give the message to the people that they should serve God, shun the devil, serve God, and don't be selfish. Don't follow their selfish ways by going ahead and getting whatever it is that they have that they were going after, and not giving the credit to their Lord. But if they wanted to just go ahead and serve God, they didn't want to serve God, but they just wanted to go ahead and be selfish about it. Okay, the creation was going to give them whatever it is that they wanted, but as far as their moral condition concerned, it wasn't going to be good. And that's the situation that Noah found himself in with his people because the people were worshipers of idols. They started worshiping idols. In the process of, we had talked about what idols were, and basically, idols were uh, they that the human being in Noah's time winded up creating images that they worship and that they depended on. Um, um, they depended on these idols. They believed that by depending on and worshiping these idols was what was giving them the blessings that they had, instead of giving the credit to the creator of the heavens and earth. So it really wasn't working out as far as the people was concerned. That's why the creator sent Noah. And so even though Noah basically was trying to, give the message to the people, and I mean, he was from among them. It's not like they didn't know who he was; they knew who he was, and it's not like like he was telling them to do things that was wrong. He was, trying to call them to, look, do things that are right, and that's what we're going to find out. Um, uh, the length of Noah's preaching. Noah continued to call his people to believe in Allah for 950 years. Let me see if that okay, let me just start from here. Noah's appeal to his people. Allah's Almighty related with Noah. Um, we sent Noah to his people saying, warn your people before there comes to them a painful torment. He said, "O my people," this is what Noah said. He said, "O my people, verily, I am a plain warner to you, that you should worship Allah alone, be dutiful to him, and obey me. He, Allah, will forgive you of your sins and respite you to an appointed term. Verily, the term of Allah, when it comes, cannot be delayed if you but knew." He said, "O my Lord," he said, "O my Lord, verily, I have called my people night and day, secretly, openly, to accept the doctrine of Islam. But all my calling added nothing but to their flight from the truth." So this is what this again, this is the situation. Um, and I'm sure that to some degree that you can kind of understand that we know that there are many times that we might uh, tell people, or just remind people of some of the things that they might be doing that might not be good for them. And we talk about just your basic family, that they may be doing some things that may not be good for them. It could be family, it could be friends, but they don't listen. People, because people, human beings, they do what they want to do, what they think they should do. And you would agree with me that there's really nothing wrong with that. Really, right? Because the person's going to do whatever it is that they want to do. And that sometimes you might be giving a person good advice and they just won't do it. Well, this was the situation with Noah. I mean, he couldn't force people to do what he wanted them to do. The only thing that he could do was to warn them. That's all he could do. So it said, so this is why Allah said, we sent Noah to his people, warn your people before there comes to them a painful torment, because they were doing things that was wrong. But before the torment comes, what God usually does is God usually sends a messenger, and to tell his people, listen, turn change your ways. If you change your ways, then I won't bring the wrath. That's what God, change your ways. You're going in the wrong direction. Um, and sometimes like that happens, and people just won't change. And so that's what happened with Noah. He went to his people. He told them he was just there to warn them that they should worship Allah alone and not worship the devil, and be duty to him, and listen to what Noah was saying. Noah was saying, listen to what I'm saying. And if you do, then God will forgive you your sins and give you respite for a term. But if you don't, then what's going to happen is that the punishment is going to come. This is something that, I mean, we're going over this, but this is something that you've probably heard in Christianity, and you probably heard from Torah teachings. This is the same thing, but this is what uh, this part that we're talking about is something that is in the Quran, that's in the Quran. Uh, no, but what Noah did is he turned to his Lord and he said, "Oh, my Lord, verily, I have called my people night and day secretly and openly to accept the doctrine of Islam. But all my calling add nothing but to their flight from the truth. Verily, every time I call them that you might forgive them, they thrust their fingers in their ears, cover themselves up with their garments, and persist in their refusal, and magnify themselves in pride. Then verily I called to them openly. I called them to aloud. Then verily I proclaimed to you in public, and I have appealed to them in private. I said to them, ask forgiveness from your Lord. Verily, he is all forgiving. He will send rain to you in abundance and give you increase in wealth and children and bestow on you gardens and bestow on you rivers. So, what is the matter with you, my people, that you fear not? You don't fear God, you don't fear Allah and His punishment, and you hope not for a reward from Allah, or you believe not in His oneness while He has created you in different stages? So, this is from Surah 23, verses 13 and 14. Then it continues. Don't you see you not how Allah has created the seven heavens one above the other, and has made the moon and a light therein, and made the sun a lamp? And Allah has brought you forth from the dust of the earth. Afterwards, He will He will return you into the earth and bring you forth again on the day of resurrection. Allah has made for you the earth widespread and expanse, that you may go about therein, broad roads. So these are some of the uh, the the observations that Noah is pointing out to his people that the Creator has done. He continues. Noah said, "My Lord, they have disobeyed me and followed one whose wealth and children give him no increase but only loss. They have plotted a mighty plot. They have said, you shall not leave your they have said, saying to when he said you shall not, they have said, talking about the people who have wealth and children, said they have said, you shall not leave your gods, these idol worshippers, these idols they had, nor shall you leave Wad, nor Suwa, nor Yaguth, nor Yuka, nor Nasa. Names, these are names of the idols. Indeed, they have led many astray. O Allah, grant grant no increase to the disbelievers. Because of their sins, they will be drowned. Then were made to enter the fire, and they found none to help them instead of Allah. Um, so this here is from Quran 71, verses 1 through 25. Um, Again, I have mentioned the ones that they were worshiping. They have, you shall not leave your gods, nor shall you leave Wad, nor Suwa, nor Yaguth, nor Yakud, nor Nasr. These were idols that the people made. Wad was actually a living human being. I know about Wad because we had talked about that before. But Wad was actually a person, and he was a person who I mentioned this last time. He was a person who was a good person, and when they got to when he died, because he's an organic being, when he died, they were at the website at his gravesite, and somebody said, let's make a statue of God so that he will still be amongst us. And that's what they did. They made the statue of God, but they also made I don't know, they might have been did the same thing with Suwa, Yaguth, and some of the others. But these were the name of idols that they had created, and they gave these worship rather than to give worship to the one who, like, Noah was pointing out, made the, heavens and the earth, gave them, all the things that they have. God created the seven heavens, one above the other, made the moon a light, and made the sun a lamp. Allah brought you forth from the dust of the earth. These are things that Noah is pointing out to the people, and the people was like, look, look, they took that for granted. Basically, that's what they wound up doing. They took it for granted. So what's interesting is that it says now the length of Noah's preachings. Again, we're reading from the stories of the lives of the prophet by Ibn Kathir. Um, Noah continued to call his people to believe in Allah for 950 years. That's a long time to, that's a long time, 950 years. Allah the Almighty said, indeed, we sent Noah to his people, and he stayed among them 1,000 years, minus 50, inviting them to believe in the oneness of Allah and to discard the false gods and other deities. And this is from Surah 29, verse 14, that it says that. So this is something that Noah did for a long period of time, long period of time. He stayed among the people. He lived for 950 years. Um, the vegetation must have been really good at that time. The air must have been really good at that time for him to live such a long period of time. Here today, we're lucky if we live 100 years today. So it happened that every passing generation admonished the succeeding one not to believe in Noah. So when we're talking about living for 950 years, I mean, if we was just supposed to say every generation was 50 years, that would be um 18, 19 generations. That 19 generations, and I'm sure generations are even shorter than that. Um because I think a generation might be, something like 20 years. But if we just said 50 years, if he lived for 950 years and we just said um, that every generation was 50 years, because what we're talking about in a generation, today that they have the X generation, the XY generation, all these different, they look at it like that. Um, that that what a generation does is they have their own way of operating as a generation. Um, so what would happen in Moses' situation, what happened was each generation, they told the coming generation, look, this is guy amongst us, his name is Noah, and he's going to tell you, to worship this God that you can't see. Don't believe him. He's been doing that. He's been doing that for years. He's been doing that. He did that, for 50 years in our last generation. And he keep talking about that there's going to be some punishment that's going to come. Don't believe that guy. That's basically what they were doing. And for 18, 19 generations, that's what people did. They were telling the coming generations, look, don't believe in Moses, man. He's talking a bunch of garbage, so don't believe in him. So it says it happened that every passing generation, the succeeding generation did not believe. Noah and no did not believe Noah, and that they were told to wage war against him. The father used to teach his children about the matter that was between himself and Noah, and counsel him not to reject his call when he reached adulthood. Their natural disposition rejected believing and following the truth. So this was what fathers did with their children. They tell them, don't believe them. So Noah saw that the number of believers was not increasing. So it's like he's giving the message, and people are not listening. And the people who are following him it's not increasing. So it's like this was a sign to Noah, basically, that his message wasn't getting through. His message wasn't getting through to people. So Noah saw that the number of believers was not increasing, while that of the disbelievers was increasing. So, when Noah was seeing that, he was sad for his people, but he never reached the point of despair, which is interesting. I'm just talking about just as interest as individuals. As individuals, I mean, what would you would do in a situation like that? I think that would be the question that I would have to ask myself. What would I do if I found out that people are not listening to me? Would I continue to still believe in this message that I'm supposed to be uh, 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 delivering to the people, and the message is not getting through to the people? I mean, would I keep on doing it, or would I quit? But Moses didn't quit. And that's why it says that Noah was sad for his people, but Noah never reached a point of despair. There came a day when Allah revealed to Noah that no others would believe. Allah inspired him not to grieve for them, at which point Noah prayed that the disbelievers be destroyed. So Noah, seeing that, that he didn't despair for his people, that Allah had to inspire him. There came a day when Allah revealed to Noah that none of the other people that was there would be believers, because Allah knows. And Allah inspired him not to grieve for them anymore. At which point Noah prayed, then listen, if that's what the situation is going to be, then I'm going to pray for them to be destroyed. So it says, and this is from Quran, it says, my Lord, leave not one of the disbelievers on the earth. If you leave them, they will mislead your slaves, and they will beget none but wicked disbelievers. Surah 71, verse 27. Surah 71, verse 27 again says, my Lord, leave not one of the disbelievers on the earth. If you leave, because if you leave them, they will mislead your slaves, and they will beget none but wicked disbelievers. So this is important to understand because, again, from the very first, messenger, the very first messenger, which was Adam, um, Adam believed in his Lord. And Adam and his wife Hawa realized that if they did something wrong, that what they could do, they could ask for forgiveness and change. They could change their ways, and they ask for forgiveness and change their ways, and then they would get blessings. That's what they realized, um, and that's what they told to their children. But see, Adam and Eve could not make their children believers in their Lord. Each one of the individuals, each one of the humans that were born after Adam and Eve, they had to make a pledge, a recognition to the Creator themselves. Each one had to do that. And the message was, if you serve God, then you will be blessed. But if you decide that you're going to follow your own selfish ways, yeah, you'll reap the benefits of the creation. But if you go ahead and serve your own self-interest, and you don't give me the credit for what I'm giving you as far as the benefits that you're getting from the creation, if you don't give me the credit for it, meaning Allah, you don't give Allah for the credit for it, then there may be consequences that you may have to suffer from that. And then to make it worse, that if you go ahead and you say serve your own self-interest, and then you create idols, You worship idols that don't have power to do nothing, and you think that the power belongs in the idols that are giving you the benefits that you're getting. Well, then you're astray. And that was the situation that happened with Adam. That see, a prophet Noah, he believed and he understood to that degree. And when he saw his people going wrong, he tried to tell them, these idols that y'all are worshiping. Wadan was a man. He was an organic creature that was created from the earth, just like you were. But he died because he's an organic creature. And then, but what you want to do, you want to make a statue of him, to sit in your council, and then, like you want to worship what Don, because you think that, what Don's energy that's in this statue now, uh, and then the others, Yakub, or all the rest of these gods, you want to make all the rest of these gods, and you think that the blessing the is in these things that you create rather than the Allah is the one that made the material that you use to make the idols that you set up for worship. But they didn't see it. They didn't see it to that degree. They didn't see it to that degree. They didn't understand it to that degree. So because they didn't understand it to that degree, they didn't it didn't make sense to them. That's how far astray that they had basically that they gone. And we're talking about human beings who, Adam and Eve being the first ones, and we're talking about they're basically all human beings are basically brothers and sisters, really. But you get separated, and then next thing you know, that like you say, yeah, well, I'm different from you. I'm different. I'm different. I'm different from you. I'm better than you. I'm spread out on the earth. And this thing comes up like that. So, but what God said that he would do, that he would send messengers to try to when people go astray, because the human being has the capability of doing that, that if you go astray, like I'm going to send messengers to you to help to call you back to the worship of the one God who created all of these benefits that you have on earth, and that you should give the you should recognize and give praise and glorification to that one who created all of this. But instead, you're going to go ahead and you're going to use the materials of the earth, and you're going to go ahead and make a god. Or what you're going to do is you're going to worship men or women, who are themselves created by the one God, who allows them to exist, and you're going to worship them. And that's why it says here that like that the people who had wealth and everything, they told the people, listen, don't listen to Moses, don't listen to him, reject him. And they told their children that, and they told their children's children that. 950 years that wound up happening like that. So Allah accepted Noah's prayer as far as uh, that he was going to destroy the disbelievers. The case was closed, and Noah passed, and Allah passed his judgment on the disbelievers in the form of a flood. Allah the Exalted ordered his worshipper Noah to build an ark with his knowledge and instruction, and with the help of the angels. Allah the Almighty commanded. This is not something that's spooky. It's not spooky. This is not something that's spooky. The way that it sounds. Allah the Exalted ordered his worshipper Noah to build an ark with his knowledge. He gave Noah the knowledge, the inspiration, the guidance to build the ark, and instructions with the help of the angels. The angels are, those that help. Um, it's not spooky. If you are inspired, God inspires you to do good, then you get help, in doing that which is good. Then it's like that's how it works. When you get the guidance of God, that's what God does. God inspires you to do good. So, the building of the ark was not evil. The building of the ark was, a material structure that Noah started making. It wasn't harming anybody, didn't harm anybody. So if Noah wanted to go ahead and build an ark, you couldn't say that it was something that he was inspired to do something that was evil or something that was not good for the people. It was building an ark, and it was okay to do that. And the people didn't have a problem with him doing it either. They saw him building the ark. They saw him building it. They saw Noah building the ark, and they didn't say anything. They didn't have any problem with Noah building an ark because it didn't do any harm to them. So that's why it says, and that's why I'm saying this to you, that it says that Allah accepted Noah's prayer. The case was closed, and He passed His judgment on the disbelievers in the form of Allah. Allah the Exalted ordered His worshipper Noah to build an ark, and He gave him knowledge in order to build an ark and instruction, and with the help of the angels. The angels are the forces of creation, basically the forces of creation that the creator uses to build everything. That's the understanding that the Muslim has of what angels are. The angels are forces in creation that help to do things, and they basically were helping Noah to that degree. Now, the other part is that 950 years. That's the other part. 950 years. So if he lived for 950 years, you don't think that an ark can be built in 950 years? There are people that build up buildings in 2, 3 years. Take 5 years to build a building. So here it is. Noah lives for 950 years, and you don't think that a large ark can be built and a collection of animals can be done in 950 years? The possibility exists. So I mentioned this to give some logic to it. Because most of the time when we hear about Noah and the ark, yeah, he built this long ark and it's all these, animals and everything. Ha, 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 ha. It's just a story. Yeah, it's a story. But the possibility exists that it's possible. That it's possible. Anyway, continuing. Surah number 11, verse 37 says, in the Quran, it says, and construct a ship under our eyes and with our inspiration, and address me not on behalf of those who did wrong. They will surely be drowned. So again, the people see Noah building the ark. It's not doing them any harm. The people, the disbelievers, the people who are worshiping idols, the people who are telling their children, look, man, he's a madman. Don't be, he's going to try to get you to go along with what it is he's saying. He's been saying that for years. That's what they tell their children. 950 years. So Noah's building this ark, and he builds this ark, and he puts all these people on, and so we continue. And so it says here, Noah builds the ark. Noah chose a place outside the city, far from the sea. He collected wood and tools and began to day and night to build the ark. The people's mockery continued. Oh, Noah, does carpentry appeal to you more than prophethood? So these were the jokes that they were making. Why are you building an ark so far from the sea? Are you going to drag it to the water, or is the wind going to carry it there for you? So Noah replied, you will come to know who will be put to shame and suffer. That's again. Uh so the Quran says, as he was constructing the ship, whenever the chiefs of his people passed by him, these are the people who had wealth and everything, who have been looking at him with mockery and saying, we ain't following him. They made a mockery of him. He said, if this is what Noah said, if you mock at us, so do we mock at you likewise for your mocking. And you will know who it is on whom will come a torment that will cover you with disgrace, and on whom will befall a lasting torment. This is Surah 11, verse 38 and 39. So again, there's nothing wrong with, Noah's not harming anybody in building the ark. And people may have looked at him like, he was, look at you, well, you building an ark and it's not, even near the sea. You just building an ark out here, and was you going to drag it though, or is the wind going to, and they're laughing at him. And Noah basically said, laugh now, but you'll cry later. Because Noah continued to believe. That's the point. That Noah continued to believe. Noah continued to build his ark. He stopped preaching to his people because God told him that no more of these people are going to believe. They are so far gone from believing in me. They are so far gone. Generations of human beings that I allowed to be birthed because of this coming together of human beings, that I allow them to continue the process of birth from generation to generation, and they don't have any appreciation for uh, uh, this method, this pattern that I have given them, that they might, come to multiply in the earth, and they don't have any appreciation for it. They don't have any appreciation for the food that I allow, that I allow to for them to eat, that grows, that I've allowed to be grown in the earth. They don't have any appreciation for that. They don't have any appreciation for the trees that I allow to exist, for the sky and the air that they breathe. They don't have any appreciation for this. For the animals that I created for their good, they don't have any appreciation for this. So this is what the people were. They took it for granted. They took all of this that Allah created they took it for granted. And because they took it for granted, then we'll see what happens. So the flood begins. So the ship was constructed, the ark, and Noah sat waiting for Allah's command. So Allah revealed to him that when the water miraculously gushed forth from the oven at Noah's house, that would be the sign of the start of the flood and the sign for Noah to act. Again, this is the relationship that Noah has with his Lord. He builds his ark, the ship is constructed. And so Noah is waiting to be inspired by his Lord. It's not doing any harm to anybody else. This is the relationship that Noah has with his Lord. This is the relationship that Noah has with his Lord. So what could be wrong? What's wrong with that? So Ibn Kathir is just basically, giving us, you know, this story, filling in, because a lot of this is not written, a lot of these things are not written in the Quran to that degree. But these are traditional stories that have come down from generation to generation. We wasn't there during the time of Noah. Ibn Kathir wasn't there by the time during the time of Noah. But these are stories that were passed down from people, because people tell stories. That's what they do. This is what they do. They'll tell stories. And these are the stories that came down, from generation to generation. These are the stories that came down. So again, the flood begins. Okay, the ship was constructed. Noah sat waiting for Allah's command. This is what the story that's being told. Allah revealed to him that when water miraculously gushed forth from the oven at Noah's house, that would be the sign that the flood was getting ready to start and that it was time for Noah to act. Noah believed that. The terrible day arrived when the oven at Noah's house overflowed. Noah hurried to open the ark and summon the believers. So when they talk about the terrible day arrived when the oven at Noah's house overflowed, that must have been where, it's rain or something like that, that the rain came down and it overflowed the oven. Because when we talk about overflowing, that's must be what we're talking about. It's something that probably happens, like, the Katrina happened and other floods happened. We know about floods and that those are things that are called natural disasters, and people have to go on top of their roof. So this one right here was saying that when the oven at Noah's house overflowed, that's the sign that Noah was looking for. He wasn't, it didn't say when you have to go and get on the top of your house, that's the sign. It didn't say that. It said when the oven overflowed, that would be the sign to the start that the flood was going to start. And that's the sign that Noah should act. So the day arrived when the oven at Noah's house overflowed. Noah hurried to open the ark and summon the believers, those people who believe like he believed. He also took with him a pair, male and female, every type of animal, bird, and insect. Seeing him taking these creatures to the ark, the people laughed loudly. Noah must have gone out of his head. What is he going to do with the animals? Almighty Allah narrated. So it was so it was till then there came our command, and the oven gushed forth water like fountains from the earth. This is Surah 11, verse 40. We said, embark therein of each kind two, male and female, and your family, except him against whom the word has already gone forth, and those who believe. And none believe in him except a few. None believed in him except a few. So again, this is telling us that maybe it started raining, and then when it started raining to that degree, maybe it rained for a long period of time, and then Noah started to get the people, the animals to come on the ark. Uh, Maybe that's how it happened. I'm just trying to visualize, to some degree, how something like this would happen. The number of believers, as the story goes on in Ibn Kathir, Noah's wife was not a believer with him. So he's married. The story is now telling us that he's married. But even though he's married, his wife is not is not a believer with him. I mean, 950 years. It's like 950 years. He believes in his Lord and the mission that he's doing, but his wife doesn't believe because she can't see it. She don't see it. It's understandable. It's understandable. People making fun of it. People are making fun of him. He out there, he building arcs. The majority of the people don't believe in him. You only got a few people that believe with him. Come to find out, Noah's wife was not a believer with him. So she did not join him on the ark. Neither did one of Noah's sons, who was secretly a disbeliever, but had pretended faith in front of Noah. So, in other words, he had a son. Well, it's obvious that he had children. He said, it says, neither did one of Noah's sons with an S, who was secretly a disbeliever, but had pretended faith in front of Noah. Respectful. His son was respectful to his father, but he really was participating in disbelief, like his mother. She probably openly disbelieved. She probably openly. You said, yo, come on, babe, we getting ready to go on tomorrow. I ain't going on the ark with you. You crazy. You've been building the ark all this time, and now, you talk, it started raining a little bit, and here it is, you talking about you going on the ark. And then one of the sons, and so the Quran tells us about this, and we'll talk about that in a minute, who was secretly disbelieving and had pretended faith. Likewise, most of the people were disbelievers and did not get on board. The scholars hold different opinions on the number of those who were with Noah on the ship. Ibn Abbas stated that there were 80 believers, while Ka'b ibn Abba held that there were 72 believers. Others claimed that there were 10 believers with Noah. Okay, so we don't know exactly how many believers was on the the ship with him. So I'm almost finished because uh, we're supposed to be on for an hour, and so we was a little late coming on. That's why we've gone over a little bit over the 9 o'clock hour. The description of the flood. The description of the flood. Water rose from the cracks of the earth. There was not a crack from which water did not rise. Rain poured from the skies in quantities never seen before on earth. Water continued pouring from the sky, rising from the cracks. Hour after hour, the level rose. The seas and waves invaded the land. The interior of the earth moved in a strange way, and the ocean's floods lifted suddenly, flooding the dry land. The earth, for the first time, was submerged. Okay, so what we want to do is ask, was there a time on earth that it over over flooded as in the story of Noah? Let's see what AI says. No, scientific evidence does not support the historical occurrence of a single global flood that covered the entire Earth, as described in the story of Noah. The, geo- the geological record, the global distribution of species, and archaeological evidence contradicted the idea of a worldwide deluge a few thousand years ago. However, there is evidence that a massive catastrophic floods there is evidence that massive catastrophic floods have occurred throughout Earth's history, and it is highly likely that these local or regional events inspired ancient flood myths, included the one that's in the Bible. Okay, so the question becomes that, maybe the Quran is basically trying to tell us something else as far as this is concerned. um, uh, Imam W.D. Muhammad, he probably talked about this. And, what we'll probably have to do is to bring somebody on to talk about, what Imam W.D. Muhammad might have said about the flood, or some other scholars to that degree that may have said something about the flood. But if archaeological and scientific evidence doesn't say anything about it, then the question becomes, then, why is this traditional story? Why is this traditional story being told? And what is the understanding that we should have of this traditional story to that degree? So we're going to leave it there. And it's our responsibility to ask questions, to ask these kinds of questions so that we can be clear. We don't just, I mean, we want to understand stories. That's what we want to do. We want to understand them. But the story of Noah is a traditional story that is not only in Christian scripture, but it's also in the Torah, and it's also in the Quran. And because it is that general, because is that widely believed by all by religious people, then we should explore it to that degree and find for you a better answer. So that's what we're going to work to do, inshallah, next week. And so that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, are there any questions that anybody would like to have um, regarding what we talked about today? If not, then I'm going to ask Sister Martha Nile Abdullah to come on and have.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Uh, Martha Nyla Williams Abdullah here, and want to invite you to, um, well, today, later tonight, 7 p.m., I just turned up my light, it's all about courtship and marriage. That's right here on AM 360 with Manira Habil Umar. But before that, 10 a.m., join us, the Voices of Women in Al Islam, on A New Day for Al Islam Community Radio
Yes.
with Rashida Robinson and myself, Martha Nyla Williams Abdullah, Amira Muhammad Shaheed, and others, Quran and others. There are many others. Come on, join us,
Yes.
971-379-9162.
I
Back
mean,
to you, William. That's 10 a.m.
10
Eastern
a.m.
Standard Time.
971-379-9162. That's right, a New Day for Al Islam Community Radio, where we'll hear our sisters, our Muslim women sisters, that will read from Quran in Arabic and then translate it into English, and then our sisters, will have a conversation about what they came to understand as far as the verses are concerned. Then later on in the show, the brothers will come on and have something to say regarding it. Very good program, very good program. Please be encouraged to come on and listen. And so, with that, I'm going to end the show and just thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for joining me here on American Muslim 360 for Stories of the Lives of the Prophets by Ibn Kathir. Until the next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And stop the live streaming.